Hello dear students, today we will be starting a new chapter, that is chapter number 13, weather, climate and adaptation. Now before starting, weather, climate and adaptation. Now what exactly are all these three terms? So what is weather? Weather is the condition of your surrounding or condition of a place, the condition of a place for a short period of time. Condition, for instance, weather is the condition of a place for a very short period of time. Okay. For when we talk about condition, we talk about atmospheric condition. So the atmospheric condition of a particular place for a very short period of time is weather. Whereas on the other hand, climate is the atmospheric condition of a particular place for a longer duration. Right? Longer duration. Weather may change several times in a day. Right? In the morning it might be hot. In the afternoon it might be rainy, and at night it might be chilly or cold. So weather is is short lived, whereas climatic condition of a place is for a long term, right? The climate of India is temperate, or the climate of equatorial region is hot, or polar region is cold, because this condition prevails in that particular area for a long time, and hence we called it as a climate. Now what is adaptation? Adaptation means what? The changes or the necessary changes that living organism, be it plants or animal, do to survive on a particular climatic condition. This is termed as adaptation. Now let's dive into the chapter. The weather influences our lives in many ways. For example, if you are planning to go for a picnic, you will surely not want it to rain. On the other hand, you may look forward to rain on a hot summer afternoon. A farmer prays for rain when a sprout about to flower, but not when the grain is ripening. A fisherman look forward to a bright sunny day, and so does a pilot. What determines whether a day is going to be sunny or cloudy? More generally, what is weather? So weather, okay, the weather has a great influence in our life. Weather is a great role in our life. For example, weather or climate, these have a great part in our life. Suppose if you are going to a picnic, or if you are going for a sports or a match, you will not want to that it would rain that day, because it might ruin your plan. Similarly, a farmer, he prays for rain while he is growing the crop. At the same time, he prays that let it not rain during harvesting, because it might destroy his crop. So a fisherman also look for a rainy day while when he goes for fishing. Prays for a rainy day. For a bright sunny day for fishing, because on rainy day he might not get that much fish. So basically, weather and climate have a lot of impact on our day-to-day life. Now, maximum and minimum temperature. Maximum and minimum temperature. From the name itself, from the terms itself, it is very obvious that maximum, when the temperature is maximum, at what part of the day the temperature is maximum, and at what part of the day the temperature is minimum, and what are the conditions that results in maximum temperature in a particular time of a day, and what are the conditions that results in the minimum temperature in a definite part of the day. You may have noticed that early morning are quite pleasant even in summer. As the day advances, it becomes warmer. The slanting morning rays do not heat up the ground and air as much as direct sun rays around the noon. Besides, it takes some time for the ground and air to become warm after cold nights, so the maximum temperature for any particular day is reached sometime in the afternoon. As the sun goes down, the earth radiates heat, the air start becoming cooler, it became coolest, and sometime around the dawn when the minimum temperature is reached. So during the morning what exactly happened? The sun rays falls on the earth in a slanting wind. It does not fall directly, and since throughout the whole night, so the earth has cooled down, so it takes time for the earth to warm up again. So it is observed that during the dawn or during the morning hours, the temperature of the earth remain cool, because the sun rays are slanting. At the same time, it takes time for the earth to warm up. As the day progresses, the sun rays, when the sun is directly above our head, the sun rays fall straight on the earth and it warms up the atmosphere. It warms up the atmosphere and rises the temperature. But during the evening, when the sun is no longer above our head, at that time the heat that our earth has accumulated or captured throughout the day, at that time it started to radiate out. Means what? It started to radiate out. Means what? The heat that our earth has absorbed throughout the day, it releases those heat, and that is why it is said that it is observed that during evening the temperature, or before evening, during afternoon, the temperature is at maximum. And after radiating all the heat, while it is the time of dusk, is it dusk? While after radiating all the heat, so throughout the whole night the earth cools down, and during dawn means what? Just before sunrise, the earth is the coolest. At that time the temperature of earth is minimum. So how to measure the minimum and maximum temperature of the earth? We have understood that at what time the earth's temperature is maximum, at what time the earth's temperature is minimum, and what are the factors that affect the temperature of the earth. Now to understand, also to measure the minimum and maximum temperature of earth, there is a thermometer known as minimum maximum thermometer, which have a U-shaped handle, U-shaped tube made filled with mercury, where one side measures the maximum temperature, and the other side measures the minimum temperature with minimum temperature. So there are still markers, so we use that device, maximum minimum temperature thermometer, to measure the maximum and minimum temperature. So it's a U-shaped device which have bulb on the top of each arm. One arm record the maximum temperature and the other minimum temperature. Okay, all right. And there is a steel marker. Which record, if you can see in the picture, which record the temperature in that thermometer. If maximum temperature shown on the newspaper for particular day is 32 degrees Celsius, it means that the maximum temperature for that day is 2 degrees Celsius lower than the average maximum temperature of the day. The average temperature is calculated over 30 more years. The same goes for the minimum temperature. Usually when the maximum or minimum temperature is much higher or lower than the average value, we say the place is having an exceptionally hot summer or cold winter. The maximum and minimum temperature in a city are generally higher than those with surrounding and rural area. This is because the concrete absorb more heat. Acha. Maximum temperature is shown in for a particular day is 32 degrees Celsius. It means that the maximum temperature for that day is 2 degrees Celsius than the average of maximum. So suppose in your weather forecast or in anywhere in newspaper you saw that the maximum temperature of today in a particular area is 32 degrees Celsius. Now what does it mean? It's not that they take a temperature of any point of the day. They will do what? They will take an average of temperature of the whole day, and they will deduct it by minus 2 degrees Celsius, and this will be your maximum temperature of the day. So maximum temperature is 2 degree lower than the average temperature of the whole day. Now next now if you are aware that the temperature of the temperature of rural area is lower than the temperature of urban area. Now what is rural and urban? Rural means generally the village areas, and urban means the town or city area. So it is quite natural to see the much amount of vegetation and greenery in rural area, whereas in urban area we see construction, concretes and other man-made structure. So what happens? This construction, this concrete and man-made structure, they absorb much amount of heat. They absorb much heat and radiation from the sun, and hence the temperature in urban area is more, whereas in rural area there are much trees, there are much greeneries. So the sun heat is not much absorbed in rural area, hence the temperature of rural area is lower and in temperature of urban area is higher. Now humidity. Now what is humidity? Humidity is nothing but the water vapor content of air. Humidity. So if you have noticed that in Kerala or in Assam as well, in Kerala or Assam during summer you sweat a lot, but whereas in Delhi you will not sweat. You will not sweat a lot. So the sweating is very less prominent in Delhi, but it is more prominent in southern region. More prominent in southern region. Now why it is happen? Heat is almost the same, or there might be a little bit different, but sweating is different in different region. So this is because the humidity of a particular area is more, and that is why we sweat a lot. Now what is humidity? Humidity is the water vapor content of the air. Humidity means the dampness of the air, the amount of water vapor in it. Air can hold only certain amount of water vapor at a particular temperature. When the amount of water is present in it, the air is said to be saturated. The capacity of air to hold water vapor increases with temperature. So the water content or the water in the form of the water vapor content of air is termed as humidity. So the capacity, the water holding capacity of air increases with temperatures. More the temperature, the more is the water holding capacity of the soil. That means what? More the temperature, more is the humidity. Means what? Humidity rises directly with temperature. Now when humidity is expressed in percentage, it is known as relative humidity. When we talk about humidity and it is expressed in percentage, it's termed as relative humidity. Relative humidity is the amount of water vapor present in air expressed as percentage of the maximum amount of water vapor it can hold at that temperature. So at a certain temperature, the maximum amount, the amount of water vapor that the air can hold, when it is expressed in percentage, we term it as relative humidity. Now rain and snow. Rain and snow. Rain and snow. Rain and snow are different forms of precipitation. Different form of precipitation. Rain and snow are two different forms of precipitation. So we'll discuss it more elaborately. One of the things that determine the chances of rainfall is humidity of the air. When the air is close to being saturated and temperature suddenly falls, some of the water vapor on the air condenses. Cloud form when condensation takes place in higher above the ground. When the droplets join together, they become heavy. They calm down as rainfall. Now if we talk about rain, then now we have before we have discussed humidity, right? Humidity. We have discussed about humidity. So humidity means what? The water vapor content of the air. So that means what? Air contain a lot of water vapor. Air contain a lot of water vapor. So when the temperature of the air drops, means what? Falls. what happen, this water vapor, they will condense and they will become more saturated. They will condense. Evaporation and condensation, you know, the transformation of water or anything from from gaseous to liquid state is termed as condensation. From liquid to gaseous state is termed as evaporation. So when there is condensation, the water vapor that is present in the air, when temperature drop, the water vapor that is present in the air, it condenses and it forms bigger droplets that fall down as rain. When the temperature is very low, the droplets could freeze into crystal and ice. So if the temperature falls, it forms rain, and if the temperature drops even lower, it forms snow, or sometimes it forms hailstones. That is the stone the stone which you see when sometimes it forms along with the rain. That is the hailstone. In winter, the temperature falls after sunset. Water vapor condenses near the ground. The droplets hanging in the air form. In winter, what does happen? The water vapor that is present near the ground, due to drop in temperature, they condense and they form a misty structure. Condenses, they form droplets, and it forms not smoke exactly, but the air become translucent, means what, not clearly visible. So the visibility become less due to the accumulation, due to the condensation. The water vapor becomes what, they become even more condensed, and this condensed form is called fog, which remain a few at a height above the ground. Now measuring rain and humidity. Very simple. Rain and humidity, what are the two instruments that are used to measure? What are the instruments that is used to measure rain and humidity? Rain and humidity. So rain is measured with the help of rain gauge. On the other hand, humidity is measured with the help of hygrometer. It's an instrument is an instrument that records. It's like a thermometer. There are thermometers like instrument which have bulbs and which have it's an instrument like thermometer. Hygrometer is an instrument like thermometer that uses bulbs to measure the humidity. On the other hand, rain gauge is a very simple instrument. If you check in your book, wait a second. So there will be a funnel and there will be a beaker that will collect the rain, and the collected rainwater will be used to measure the rainfall of that particular area. So after a while the rain gauge will be kept in an open ground, so the rainwater will be collected there, and this will be the measurement of that water will be used later on to determine the rainfall of that particular area. So this instrument is, or this measuring instrument is known as rain gauge. Next up is climate. Weather, we have discussed that when the atmospheric condition that prevails for a shorter duration of time, but climate is the atmospheric duration for a longer period of time. Now climatic condition of an area depends upon certain thing, and its effect is also very much significant. The climate is of a place is average weather pattern. Major factor that determines the climate of a place is latitude. Okay. So throughout the whole year, the weather condition of a place throughout the whole year, after observing the weather condition of a place throughout the whole year, an average climatic pattern is the climate of an area is determined. So when you study the weather condition of an area for a whole year, you will be able to derive an average weather condition of that particular area, which we termed as climate. Now climate of an area is climate of an area, there are certain factors that determine the climate of an area. So the most prominent factor is the latitude and longitude. You know what is latitude and longitude? You have seen, if you have observed in globe, you will see there are certain imaginary line that divides the earth into much smaller portion. So this imaginary line which are vertical, these are termed as longitude, and these are termed as the horizontal one are termed as latitude. So latitude and longitude plays a very important role in determining it plays an important role, are an important climatic factor. Now how latitude and longitude are important climatic factor? Now if you look in your book, that is page number 124, you will see that there is a rough there is a diagram of earth drawn. So the central line, the central latitude, right, the central latitude, the latitude that that divides the earth into two equal parts, this is known as the longest latitude, that is the equator, right? And in the northern and southern pole of the earth, we see there are more latitude, and there are a lot of latitude, but the prominent one I am drawing here. So this is equator, and this is known as the Tropic of Cancer, and this is another Tropic of Capricorn, and these are the polar region, North Pole, South Pole. So it is observed that the temperature is maximum in the equatorial area. Temperature is maximum. Why it is maximum in the equatorial area? Because the sun rays falls directly on the temperature on the equatorial region, and that is why the temperature is maximum here. So as we move towards the pole, the temperature on the both sides, as we move towards the pole, the temperature decreases. So if we move from equator to polar region, the temperature will decrease. This area, here this area, and here this area, these areas, this area between the equator and the tropical region. So these are tropical region. So between the equator and either Tropic of Cancer or Tropic of Capricorn, this particular area is known as are known as the tropical region. So India is a country that falls in the tropical region. We'll learn here. The climate of a place is average weather pattern. A major factor that determines the climate of a place is its latitude. We are talking about latitude. We saw how latitude plays an important role in determining the temperature or the climatic condition of an area. Broadly speaking, there are three temperate zones in the world. The region around the equator heated by direct rays of sun is hot and torrid zone. So the region around the equator, this region is the most hot because the sun rays fall directly in that region. The region around the pole and the south pole are the rays are slant and the most. So and the region around in the pole, this polar region are the most cold because the sun rays reaches here. A very less amount of sun rays reaches there. So that is why this region is cold. And if the sun rays reaches also, it reaches slanting, means what? Not directly but indirectly, in a slanting way. Here the sun rays falls directly, but here the sun rays fall in a slanting way. So that that is why the temperature in both the polar region are very low. However, the climate of a place does not depend on latitude and latitude alone. For instance, throughout the India has warm tropical climate by large mountain. Okay. Now, so here we have discussed how latitude plays an important role in the climatic condition of a particular area. However, latitude is not the only factor that determines the climatic condition of a certain area. Certain geographical aspects or geographical factors also play an important role in determining or in plays an important role. However, certain geographical factors are also key responsible for climatic condition of a certain area. For example, hills, mountains or seas are also an important factors that are responsible for climatic condition. Now, how? Let me show you. So, if you look at the hilly region, or the hilly region or uplands, you will see that the region, the areas which are in hill or the hilly areas are more cold, or the temperature of hilly areas is less. This is because as the height increases, the temperature of the particular place decreases. However, the climate of a place does not depend on latitude alone. For instance, though India is warm and tropical climate by large mountain have much colder climate, in general temperature falls by 1 degree Fahrenheit with the rise of 300 feet above the sea level. Now sea are the lowest land areas or lowest land mass. So it is the lowest land mass, and if we move above the sea level, so that is why a height of earth is measured in the sea level, because sea are the most lowest land area, right? So if we move above the sea level, after moving 300 feet, is it 300 feet? Yeah, after rising 300 feet, we see a rise in a drop in 1 degree Fahrenheit of temperature. So after moving upward 300 feet, 1 degree Fahrenheit of temperature is dropped. So it shows that the more higher we rise, the lesser the temperature. That is why the temperature in Himalayas or Mount Everest or in any hilly region is very cold. We see snows and ice in there. So take in northeast, we take Shillong for example. It's a cold area or cold region because it is a hilly area. Manali, it's a hilly area. Shimla, where snow falls, although it is in tropical part of the world, but it is cold because the temperature of that particular area is low because it is situated at a height. Another thing that determines the climate of a place is closeness to the sea. Places close to the sea are having more moderate climate, while places far away the sea have more extreme climate. This is because land absorbs and radiates heat faster than the sea does. Now another one is that places around the sea. Now we saw that we have discussed earlier that the heat travels from the sun to earth in the form of radiation. So this sun rays again radiates back. So the land does what? The land does what? The land area, it radiates the heat much faster and it absorbs the heat, whereas in the sea, the sea has less capacity to radiate or to absorb those radiation, and that is why the temperature, there is a difference in temperature in the places which is near the sea and which is far away from the sea, and that is why we see climatic condition is different in different places. So till now we have discussed or we have learned about three factors that are they play a key role in determining the climate of an area. The first factor is the latitude. In latitude, we see that the biggest latitude, that the equator, where and we see the tropical area and the polar area. So we see that the temperature is highest at the equatorial region and tropical region, whereas temperature is lowest at the polar region. Next factor, we saw that height or altitude. So as the height increases, the temperature falls. With 300 increase in altitude, 300 feet increase in altitude, 1 degree Fahrenheit drop in temperature we notice. On the other hand, and the third one is area places near the sea or away from the sea. Now, rainfall is the other important thing that defines the climate of a region. Depends on several factors like wind, closeness to the sea, and the presence of mountain. You will learn that more about the wind the next chapter. Okay. In general, winds blowing from the sea bring the rainfall on the land to dry. Thus, wind blowing for the earth areas. Okay. Now, rainfall, if you consider, rainfall is an important factor, a climatic factor. Now, how do rainfall occur? Now, if we take, suppose, consider this, okay. So we know all right. So this is the sea or water region, oceanic region or sea region. So what will happen when water will evaporate from this sea region? It will flow with the help of air, it will move towards the land region. So when it will move towards the land region, what will happen? It will accumulate above the land region, and what will happen? There will be rain. Now, if you are aware that the Himalayan region is somewhere here, there is a large Himalayan region. So when the water vapor along with the air will move, this will do what? This air that containing the water vapor, this will strike on the Himalayan region. Since Himalaya is very high, Himalayan mountain ranges are very high, they will not allow the the air with water vapor to pass through the mountain region. This is why the air will go and they will strike back and bounce back and remain there. So more and more air will accumulate here, and hence it will rain much here. So we will see that in hilly region there are we see that the rainfall in this area, particularly if we see that the Shillong area, the Cherrapunji area, the Meghalaya is somewhere here, where we see Cherrapunji receives the most amount of rainfall in Mysuru. So it is somewhat here because the Himalayan region, the hilly region, they block the air that is filled with water vapor, and air get accumulated, and hence it rains here. So similarly here the Arabian Sea is somewhat here and Indian Ocean here. So when the water get heated, the temperature rises, and when the temperature rises, what happens? The more the temperature, more is the humidity of the air. So this humid air will move towards the land mass, and this will create rain. Now vegetation and climate. There is a map given, you take a look at it. Now previously we discussed about different region, the equatorial region, the tropical region, and the polar region. Same thing, yeah. So in equatorial region, and I think you are clear now, the places near the equator, there is the weather is very hot there. So if the weather is very hot there is more humidity. If there is more humidity, then there is more rain. The region around the equator, where the climate is hot and wet throughout the year, this is the greatest variety of land. The trees of this luxuriant rainforest of the belt are evergreen. This is because there is never a shortage of water. These forests have layers of vegetation the leaves are the tallest of the tallest tree get maximum sunlight, so they are small and leathery to conserve water. The leaves of the middle level tree are broad and thin to make use of sunlight filter through the canopy. Shrubs and ferns that grow on the bottom with okay. Now first we will discuss about the equatorial region. Now the vegetation of equatorial region is very diverse. Now why? So since I have said that in equatorial region the temperature is high due to direct sunlight, so high temperature means high humidity. High humidity means high rainfall. High rainfall means high vegetation. So you see how one are related with one another. So there is a diverse range of vegetation in equatorial area. Now there are some plants that are very tall, whereas some are middle height and some are of low height. So the plant which are the most tallest, they receive maximum sunlight. They receive maximum sunlight, and that is why what is there? So the leaves of these plants are small, so that the leaves of the the plant that are tall, they receive maximum sunlight. That is why the leaf of the plants are small, because sunlight is abundant in them. So this is the highest plant. But the plants that are shorter than the taller one, so they receive what? Less sunlight, because this taller plant, their canopy means what? Their leaves and their area of plant, they block maximum sunlight. So their leaves, if you see, this will be broader means what? This will be even more wider, so that when the sunlight is less, so that they can trap maximum sunlight. As the canopy of taller plant, they block the sunlight, so their leaves is broad, because they can trap more sunlight, because they receive less sunlight. So if the leaves of that plant have broader surface area, they can trap maximum sunlight. Now the most of the vegetation in equatorial region are evergreen. Most of the plant in equatorial region are evergreen. Now what are evergreen and why they are evergreen? Evergreen means what? Those plants whose leaves remain green throughout the year. So they are called evergreen trees, and they are evergreen because they have abundance of water. Now why they have abundance of water? Because they have abundance of rainfall. Now moving toward the tropical region. What is tropical region? The region between the equator and the tropical area is known as tropical region. Let me draw it clearly for you. Equator and the tropical region. So this region is known as the tropical region. So tropical region, if you see, it is slightly away from the equator. So obviously there will be a difference in vegetation. North and south of the equator region are tropical belts, in which India falls, broadly speaking, with this warm region with hot summer and cold winter and distinct rainy season. This vegetation varies within the amount of rainfall region and very heavy rainfall. Broad-leaved evergreen trees region with amount of rainfall. Region with heavy amount of heavy rainfall have tropical deciduous trees. Evergreen trees regions with moderate and to heavy rainfall. Tropical deciduous trees shade there. Okay. Now these are called tropical belts or the tropical area. So this tropical area have two type of forest trees. One is the evergreen tree and the other is the deciduous tree. Now see let me even describe it more elaborately. Now you have to understand the relation here. Try to understand the relation here. Relation between climate and adaptation. Adaptation, what I said before, means what? The ability to change itself according to the climatic condition. Firstly, we saw the vegetation of equator or equatorial area. Now, since equatorial area has high amount of rainfall, this will have plants with evergreen forest. They will have evergreen trees or evergreen plants. Now, why they have evergreen plants? Because there is abundant rainfall. Right? Now, in tropical belts, we see there are evergreen plus deciduous. Now, here in equatorial region, the rainfall is maximum. That is why we have evergreen trees. So, the plant in equatorial region has adapted to the climatic condition of equator, which receives maximum rainfall, and that is why they are evergreen. But in equatorial belt, we move away from the equator, and there we see diversity in climate or change in climate. In tropical belt, we see there are places with rainfall, abundant rainfall, and there are places we see there are shortage of rainfall at certain time of the year. So, the places that have abundant rainfall have evergreen trees which remain green throughout the year, and the places that doesn't have maximum rainfall or throughout the year uniformly, they have a deciduous tree. Now, what are deciduous tree? Deciduous tree are those trees that shed their leaves or their leaves fall at a certain period during a certain part of the year. So, here the places where there is no scarcity of water, where there is abundant water, we see they are evergreen, trees are evergreen. But the places where we see there is no uniformly, the water is not uniformly abundant, we see they are deciduous. Means what? At certain part of the year they shed their leaf. So, this deciduous tree has adopted or had made changes as per their water requirement. So, here we see the relationship between climatic condition and adaptation. This relation will be more clear when we will discuss the more type of trees. Though we have distinguished between equatorial and tropical forest, usually the forest in the entire belt between the tropical forest, they are classified into rainforest, dry forest, grassland, mangrove. Mangrove are coastal forest. So, now what are rainforests? Rainforests are those forests which have maximum rain throughout the year and have maximum evergreen forest. Dry forest means what? The forest that contain more amount of deciduous trees. Grasslands means what? The plant area that have maximum amount of grasses. And mangroves. Now, what is mangrove? So, there are trees. So, there are trees that there are forests in the coastal region. Suppose this is a sea area. This is a sea area. So, you will see there are forests near the sea area or the water body area, the places with large water bodies. So, this forest near the sea area or near large water, not exactly sea but near larger water bodies. It may be marshes or it may be big lakes, right? So, they are called mangrove forests. So, mangrove forest, what is mangrove forests? Are the coastal forest. Means what? The forests that are found near the coastal area are known as mangrove forest. So, if you look at the mangrove trees, they will have large bigger roots because as they are near the water bodies, so their roots are bigger, and you will see their roots will be, suppose this is the water body, suppose this is the water body, so there will be a mangrove tree right here. So the roots of the mangrove tree will tend to move upward above the water because they need water. So this is a type of adaptation because they made changes as per their requirement. Now the changes will be more clear when we will talk about the desert vegetation. So take look at it very carefully. Now if you look at the desert, now desert are dry obviously, Desert are dry, they have less water, right? And if you want to see, if you want water in desert, you have to dig deep inside the ground to find water. Now if you take a look at a tree, a tree that is found in desert, take cactus for example. Take a cactus for example. Suppose this is a cactus. Now it is found where? It is found in desert. Now firstly, if you look at the body of the cactus leaf, you will see it is thick and leathery. It is thick and leathery. Now why it is thick and leathery? Since the area is dry and sunny, it is thick and leathery to prevent the water loss. Now if you look at the thorns of the cactus, the thorns of the cactus are not actually thorns, they are actually the leaves. The leaves, so normally we see leaves like this, right? But this leaf had changed its shape into a very thorny or very small, it became like a thorn, like a needle, because we know that water loses a lot of, plant loses a lot of water through its leaf due to transpiration. So in order to avoid loss of water, these trees of this cactus have changed its shape of leaves into more smaller and needle-like structure to prevent the loss of water. Now if we look at the roots of this tree, you will see that these roots are not normal roots, they are very large or very long roots to reach deep inside the ground so that they can find water. So here we see that the trees of the desert have adapted themselves or have made changes themselves as per their climatic condition. So this is called adaptation. So the plants that are found, desert or arid have vegetation consisting of cacti and other xerophytes. Xerophytes are those plants that are found in the desert region. A special adaptation to we have discussed all about it. Acacia and other trees have grown in the segmented leaves, reduce the loss of water. Here we have discussed it. Now temperate. Even in tropic mountain vegetation is the cool temperature type. The evergreen trees that characterize this type of vegetation are adapted to cope with the cold dry climate. Their conical shaped is hill or snow side of the needle lake. Now if we look at temperate or a cold region, a colder region, trees of the colder, if you look at the plant of the leaf, if the leaf of a plant of a colder region, we see that their leaves is very cone like, somewhat a cone shaped leaf, right? Means what? It is very cone shaped and the area is small. Now why the area or the leaves of a cold region are small and cone like? Because we have said that, we have learned earlier that more is the temperature, more is the humidity, less is the temperature, less is the humidity. In colder region there is we see there is often scarcity of water, and that is why the leaves of those trees in colder region have a small shape or cone like shape. All right, and conical shape to slow to slide off, and the needle like to reduce, so that there is less loss of water, and there is often snowfall. I think you have seen some plants which have leaves like this. So these are like this. somewhat like this. So what does how does this leaves help? So this leaves help. So in colder regions, since there is less water, there is a shortage of water. So these small leaves will not allow loss of water. At the same time, when snow will accumulate on this leaf, it can easily slide off. Now polar. Only mosses and short-leaf flowering plants grow in the snow-capped height of the mountain and polar region. The ground frozen most of the year and water which available during short summer. The snow melts at this time, within which small flowering plants. See the vegetation of polar region. That is what. Now what is polar region? The region at the pole, this side, which is extremely cold. That is why the vegetation in polar region is not very significant, because the weather climate is extremely cold. Only few type of mosses are found. Mosses means what? Mosses means what? The plants which the mosses are the plants which do not have prominent branches, trees like that. They are found on the ground, like green moss or fungi you find in your walls. Like this type of mosses which they are found on the polar region, and they have they have good capacity to cope with extreme cold climate actually. Now how do animal adapt? Till now we have discussed about plants. Now let us discuss how various animals adapt to climatic condition. We will discuss it in a very shortly and more effectively. Now firstly, let us take about the polar region, the animal of the polar region. Since the polar region is very cold, extremely cold, if we take a look at the animal at the polar region, take polar bear for example. So polar bear will have what? Polar bear will have large amount of fur, a very huge amount of fur in its body to prevent himself from the extreme cold. Animal adapted to cold climate. Animal living in the polar region, for example, yaks, polar bear and minks, Arctic foxes, have very thick coat of fur to conserve it. So they will have a very thick coat of fur. They will have a large amount of fur to help themselves or to protect themselves from cold. Many like polar bears have white fur. This helps them to blend with their surrounding. So if we look at the animal, be it polar bear or be it Arctic fox, so their color of fur is mostly white, so that they can camouflage or blend themselves with the white surrounding. So the icy surrounding is white, so they also can camouflage or blend themselves with the surrounding. So a bird that is mostly found in polar region, that is penguin. So we see that penguin is a flightless bird. Now do you know why penguin turned himself to be flightless? Due to long adaptation. Since there is a very less population of wildlife in polar region, so the predators or the so there are very less chances for penguin to be hunted or someone to kill penguin, right? And that is why penguin slowly they stopped using their wings and they became flightless. But since in polar region there are water, polar region not only there is ice, you will see there are water bodies as well. So penguin have developed a good skill of swimming. So since there is nobody to attack penguin, so they have stopped flying. That is why they became flightless. And since they have to swim a lot, so they, instead of ability to fly, they have developed ability to swim. And at the same time, if we look every animal in polar region, we will see that they are quite fat and thick. They will have thick layer of fat under the skin to help themselves against the cold. Now hibernation and migration. Hibernation, when animal become inactive at a certain time of the year, this is known as hibernation. And migration means what? When animal move from one place to another place at a certain time of year is known as migration. So this is nothing but these are ways for coping up with the environment. Now when do an animal hibernate? An animal hibernates when he finds it difficult to cope up or to adapt with the changing environment. Mostly animals hibernate or take a long sleep during winter, so that because they are unable to sustain the cold environment of the particular time of the year. So that is why they take as much as food during the summer and collect it, and they sleep through the whole winter so that they can survive. Similarly, migration also is because of the same reason. So since some animal or some birds, they cannot sustain the environmental condition of a certain place in a certain period of year, so they migrate to another place where there is suitable environment. Tropical forest. In dense rainforest, adaptation are related to more luxuriance and competition for food. You may wonder why this so. This luxuriant forest should be able to provide plenty of food, but if there is plenty of food, there is also plenty of consumers, so the animal confine themselves with the layers of forest. In tropical topmost the canopy of the tallest trees live a great variety of insects, snake, lizard, birds and monkey. These monkey rarely come down because they get all the need where they live. They develop great ability to swing from trees to trees. Okay. Now in tropical forest, in rainforest and tropical forest, we see there are variety of trees, large variety of trees. At the same time, there are varieties of animals also. So they adopted themselves with their availability and the layer of the forest. In the top layer, if you see, suppose this is the forest, there are some animals that will live on the top layer of the forest. They will live on the trees because whatever the need, food, shelter, everything they find here. So take monkey for example. So monkey finds its food here on the top of the tree. Monkey finds its shelter on the top of the tree. So it has changed itself according to this. You see, monkey has the ability to swing from one branch to another. It has the ability to cling in the branch, right? So it is a change, adaptation he made. So the legs of the monkey are shaped like the hand so that they can grasp the branch, and their tail act as a balancer while they walk on the branches or trees. The middle layer or the shorter trees has its own population of bird, monkeys, trees, snake, lizard. Bigger animals that live on the layer of jaguar spend most of the time on the branches of trees, will be able to spot the prey unseen. Gorilla, bears and other clumsy animals cannot climb the forest floor, and snake, lizard and small mammal too. In tropical grassland, the browser animal live in the grazer have food habits of competition. They generally have long legs because they need to cover great distance of food and water. Many tropical animals have special adaptation to cope up with the heat. Let's look at the elephant part. They have difference between African elephant which live in the grassland and Asian elephant moist and dry forest, but all elephants have large ear which help to radiate the heat from the body. The body area of elephant helps the animal to good swimmer and take deep in them. Okay. All right. In the middle, we see there are certain type of animal like jaguar and other tree climbing animal. Here they will see in the middle where they find their food from there, because they will sit there and they will search for their prey. But on the bottom we see there are many animals that are grazing animal, mostly grazing animal and other animal. Will see them there, and this type of animal will have longer leg or bigger leg or longer leg, because they have to move from one place to another after having their when the food finishes in this place, they have to move to another place to find food. That is why their legs are prominent. Now if we look at an elephant, there is a difference between an elephant, Asiatic elephant and African elephant. Since African elephant live on grassland and Asian elephant they lives on forest and marshes, but all the elephant will have large ears, because these ears help them to cool themselves and radiate out all the ears. These ears help themselves to keep their body cool. So they will have long trunks. They have long trunks because this trunk helps them to spread water and mud all over their body to protect themselves against heat of the sun and to clean themselves as well. It helps them to breathe even while they are swimming. Yeah, and while swimming, elephants are very good swimmers, and this long trunk also help them while swimming. And while taking their this long trunk also help them to uproot a tree, to carry a tree. We see the animal have adopted himself as per its needs. Now the tiger is an attractive inhabitant of tropical forest. Unlike the Siberian kazil, which has thick and shaggy coat, the tropical tiger has coat of short close fur. The stripe on his body is hiding among tall grass. Now how tiger has adopted? So if you look at the Siberian tiger, means the tiger that is found in the Siberian region or cold region, this tiger and its relative, that is the normal Indian tiger, they are different, right? So how they are different? Since they live in warm temperate climates, they live in forest, so they have developed stripes, yellow and black stripe, which help them to hide inside in the grass, hide among the grass, hide among the bushes for hunting. Tall grasses to have inside for hunting. Similarly, this type of pattern on the body also seen in zebras, disruptive coloration. Achha. So we see patterns. We see pattern on this type of animals like zebras, tigers. This type of pattern are known as disruptive coloration. So this disruptive coloration helps an animal to hide or to hide in its natural surrounding. So a tiger uses its disruptive coloration to hide and to search for its prey to hunt. Confuses the prey and predator. Unlike other cats, the tiger loves water and is a good swimmer. A dip in water helps it to cool down in warm climate where it lives. Like all other cats, the tiger is a good hunter. Its soft paw pad helps to stalk its prey. Its hind leg are longer than its foreleg. This helps them to jam its prey in direct litter pool and the claws. Okay. Now some of the features of the tiger. Now how tiger has adopted himself. Firstly, we see there are disruptive coloration which help the tiger to hide and wait for its prey. Secondly, we see the tiger's paws. Paws means what? Its hands are very soft, which allow him to move stealthily without making any noise towards its prey. And thirdly, we see the hind leg. The back leg of the tiger is stronger than its front leg, which help him to run and catch its prey. And it has a protective claw. It also has claws. Claws means what? The nails, sharp nails, which allow him to devour or to hunt on his prey. Now the last one is camel. Now if you look at the camel, has a very interesting type of adaptation. Camel is found in desert, so it has adapted himself as per the condition of the desert. Camels are especially suited to survive in harsh climatic desert. So camel has adapted himself to survive in desert. Now what are the adaptations the camel make? They excrete very concentrated urine to reduce the loss of water. They can drink large quantities of water as they go. Now the camel. So when the camel, they urinate or they excrete or they dispose or they get rid of the waste material from the body. So we remove the waste material of the body from our body through urine. The camel also does the same, but their urine is very thick and concentrated. They are very to prevent the loss of water. So if their urine is more diluted, more amount of water will be lost. So their urine is very much concentrated. So that what happens, less amount of water is lost from their body. At the same time, they can drink a large amount of water, huge quantity of water at one go, at one time, or they can also tolerate the changes of their body temperature, which help them to cope with the hot days and cold night in the desert. In desert, what happens? The days are extremely cold and the nights are the days are extremely hot and the nights are extremely cold, and their skin is suited with the frequent fluctuation of temperature. They can survive in extreme cold even and in extreme hot also. And the other animals that are found in desert, like rats, snakes, and some rats and snakes, they rats, snake, and salamanders and tortoise, they go in summer to cope up with the heat. Okay. So previously we have discussed about hibernation. So hibernation is means what? Some animal, they sleep through the whole winter, to help themselves to go through the winter. They sleep through the whole winter. They remain inactive because they can't cope up with the cold temperature. But in desert what happened? But there are some animal, they sleep through the whole summer because they can't tolerate the heat of the summer. They sleep through the whole summer. So this is just the opposite of this. There are animals like some rats, some snake, and some tortoise. Some species of tortoise, they sleep through the whole summer. So this is known as estivation. So estivation is nothing but the opposite of hibernation. So with this, the chapter has came to an end. You read the chapter in your home. You go through the lesson. If you have any question, do not forget to mention in the comment section below. Do subscribe to Al Hira National Schools channel and click the bell icon so that you don't miss a class. Thank you.